Hello, dear students. Today we will see the overview for object oriented programming language. Before knowing the features, advantages, and many more about object oriented programming language, we know about the C. C is also one of the programming language that contains all basic things we can learn. Before going to learn any programming language, we have known about something about the C language. In C language, different types of operations, different types of calculation, and many more things you can learn through the C programming. Also, in nature, there are many number of programming languages available through which you can perform different types of operations, different types of many more complicated calculations you can learn, you can do. So you have to know about every programming language, how it's variated with different features and different advantages for the users. So today we'll see the overview for object oriented programming language. Here you can see the evaluation of languages. Basically, the machine language is developed in a nature firstly, then second there is a assembly level language is there, then procedure oriented language is there, and then this object oriented language is developed. So here what machine language gives, or how this machine language is perform its works, you can see. So machine language is a low level programming language. Machine language can only be represented in the form of zeros and ones. So there is no another symbols, no another words, no another digits there is used inside this machine language. Only use of zero and one. Every word, every instruction is written inside the form of zeros and one. In earlier, when we have to create a picture or show data on the screen of the computer, then it is very difficult to draw using only binary digit, that is zeros and one in the form. So when you are going to write number 120 in the form of binary number, that is in the form of 0 and 1, so you can observe here on the ppt, that is 11110000. It represents your number 120. So the complexity, when you are going to write many more complicated number, you can face the more complexity. So it is very difficult to learn, or it is very difficult to uh, drop or take out the that particular number or words. To overcome this problem, there is a assembly level language is developed. Inside that assembly level language, it is the more than low level and less than high level language. It is intermediary language. Assembly languages use numbers, symbols, and abbreviation instead of zeros and one. That is, for example, you can going for addition of numbers, subtraction of numbers, multiplication, or different types of operation you can use. That time you can directly use the instructions like add, sub, and mul, etc. That is, it is simple than your machine language. So here you can observe the language overview. That is, assembly language is converted with the help of assembler, and that machine language, low level language you have got. Then third type of language, that is a procedure oriented language. Here programming in the high level language such as COBOL, Fortran, C, etc. is known as a procedure oriented programming language. These are the different types of languages that is developed in high level and supported that by procedure. Procedure oriented programming basically contains group of instruction known as function. That means there are number of instructions you have grouped inside a single and then that groups perform some activity or some particular function, and there are multiple functions into the program. That means you have multiple tasks inside your program, and that task you can perform through one of the program. That means suppose when you are going to perform addition of number, multiplication of number, subtraction of number, division of number, or any another operations you can perform, each operation you can make a separate procedure, and collectively all the procedure you gives the output for every procedure, that you can say as it as a calculator operation. Then here you can observe the typical structure of procedure oriented programming. That means how the program flow is going on. Here you can observe there is a main program is there, and inside that main program, as we said, many number of functions you can use. That is function 1, function 2, function 3, function 4, function 5, function 6, function 7, function 8, etc. That means any number of functions you can use inside a single program. Each function has separate tasks, and every function can communicate with each other for the purpose of data sharing, or either they can communicate with their intercommunication. Either they may require any variables from one function to another function, or they can share their data as required. So here we have seen on the PPT that is the global data, and this global data is present inside the main program. Wherever this global data is shared or accessed by each and every functions from the program, whereas the local data is associated for only this particular function. It is not used by another functions. Only you can access the global data. Local data is only restricted for that particular function. Here in PPT you can observe function 1 has its local data, function 2 has its local data, function 3 has also its local data. Wherever this local data is not intercommunicated or shared with each other. Then some of the characteristics we can see here for the procedure oriented programming language. What exactly the characteristics? You can say these are the advantages with this procedure oriented programming language. So first characteristic is nothing but it emphasizes on the algorithm. That means what exactly focus of this programming language is, what you are doing inside this programming language. Second, large programs are divided into smaller programs known as functions. That means, as we have considered the example of calculator, wherever there are different types of operation as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. These are the different operations wherever you can use separate function for each operation. That is one function for addition, one function for subtraction, one function for multiplication, one function for division, like that. Then function can communicate by global variable. As in previous diagram we have seen, there is global data. Inside that global data you have different types of variables, different types of variables that you can share through this global data. Then data move freely from one function to another function, that you can share data inside this function, that is functions communicate with each other. Then functions change the value of data at any time from any place, that is functions transform data from one form to another. It uses top down programming approach. These are the different things that will be associated with procedure oriented programming language. Then one small concept related to your modular programming. Modular programming emphasis on breaking up large programs into small programs to increase the maintainability, readability of the code, and to make the program handy to make any changes in future or to correct the errors. This is a some small model you can develop for the program. Then we'll see about the generic programming. This generic programming is one of popular type of computer programming where it is written in such a way that it creates the most efficient code possible while allowing the code to apply to as many situations as possible without requiring any changes to the original code itself. Once the code is written, it can only perform the exact function it was written for. By using generic programming to create codes that work in number of different situations while still performing the same basic overall function, programmers can use a single piece of code in different programs without ever making changes to the original. This is the future related to generic programming. Then we'll see our object oriented programming features. Object oriented programming stands for object oriented programming, that is nothing but you can say OOP. And procedural programming is about writing procedures or functions that perform operations on the data, while object oriented programming is about creating objects that contain both data and function. This is the combination of data and function inside a single unit, that is nothing but the object oriented programming. The main focus of this object oriented programming is not on the functions, it is on the particular operations. Then you can observe here difference between procedure oriented programming language and object oriented programming language. So the first difference, in procedure oriented programming, program is divided into smaller parts called as function. In object oriented program is divided into parts called as objects. Where in procedure oriented programming does not have any access specifier. In object oriented programming it has a different types of access specifier, that is public, private, protected, etc. Procedure oriented programming does not have any proper way for hiding data, so it is less secure. In case of object oriented programming it provides data hiding, so provides more security. In procedure oriented programming overloading is not possible. In object oriented programming, overloading is possible in the form of function overloading and operator overloading. In procedure oriented programming, most function uses global data for sharing that can be accessed freely from function to function in the system. In object oriented programming, data cannot move easily from function to function. It can be kept public or private, so we can control to access of data. Here some of the example that you can observe for procedure oriented programming, that is C, VB, Fortran, Pascals are there. In case of object oriented programming, you can have the different examples like C++, Java, VB, .NET, C hash, .NET. These are the different types of programming languages available with respect to object oriented programming. So here we have seen the difference between procedure oriented programming language and object oriented programming language. I think all students have get a clear cut idea about the procedure oriented programming language and object oriented programming language. I think all the doubts, some of the characteristic you can learn through this is how the procedure oriented programming language approach is there and how the object oriented programming language is there. So as per my view, the object oriented programming is language is very simple to learn, to do the different types of operations. Any new user or new student can learn this object oriented programming language. It has many more simple features and through which you can implement the different types of tasks, you can perform different types of tasks. So it is very simple to learn. Okay, uh, I think here there are different types of fundamental features available with this object oriented programming language, or you can say these are the different features. So it will see in next lecture. Thank you.